Okay, welcome back to another video. So chances are that if you've grappled with the issue of veganism and animal rights, you've heard this phrase being uttered before, right? And it's uttered by vegans, but also by non-vegans. Right? And it goes something like this. If you just love the taste of animal products too much and therefore can't go vegan, just reduce your consumption of animal products. It's better than nothing. Chances are that you've heard that before, and if you hadn't heard it prior to today, you've heard it now. So, is this idea accurate? Is this idea that if you just love the taste of animal products so much, then you should just, reduce your consumption? Is this a good idea? Well, technically, right? If you reduce your consumption, there are fewer animals being harmed. So yes, if you reduce your consumption, right, that does reduce the amount of suffering caused. But consider for a moment, if you ever heard someone suggesting to a self-professed racist that if the racist just loves being racist too much, right, that they just can't stop being racist, then they should just reduce the number of people they're racist to. So this person that we're talking about, who is suggesting things to the racist, to the self-professed racist, right? This person says to that racist, if you just love being racist too much, then and you can't just stop being racist, then just reduce the number of people you are racist to. If you're being racist to 5 people earlier per week, every week, try instead being racist to 2 people per week, every week. It's better than nothing. What would you think of such a person? What would be your reaction to such a person? So what we've just done here, right, is something called a reductio ad absurdum. We've taken the reasoning from the earlier case of just reducing your animal consumption. We've taken the reasoning out, right? The reasoning being that if you can't just stop doing unnecessarily harmful things, just reduce the amount of unnecessarily harmful things that you do, and we've applied to a different scenario, right? And we are checking here if it leads to absurdities. And if by applying the reasoning elsewhere, it leads to absurdities, it means that there is something wrong with the reasoning, right? So have we arrived at an absurd conclusion here? I submit to you that we have, by suggesting to a self-professed racist that they should kind of reduce the level of racism instead of stopping altogether because it's better than nothing. I submit to you that we have arrived at an absurd conclusion. And therefore there is a flaw in the reasoning, right? And therefore it is also absurd to say to someone who contributes to the unnecessary suffering of non-human animals that they should kind of just reduce the level of contribution to the unnecessary suffering of non-human animals instead of just stopping. That too is absurd, right? They should just stop. Right? It's not good enough to just reduce your contribution to the unnecessary suffering because it's unnecessary suffering. Right? You should not be a part of it. We shouldn't be a part of it. Now I realize that some of you might be offended by what I've just said. Some of you might be disgusted by what I've just said. Some of you might have a feeling emerging from inside which says, what on earth is wrong with this guy? How can he compare the suffering and oppression of human beings to the oppression of non-human animals? If this is you, right, please note a few things. Number 1, your capacity to be offended is not an argument. Your capacity to be disgusted is not an argument, right? Your capacity to be offended is not something I nor anyone else has to respect, right? It doesn't validate your point. and it doesn't invalidate my point, right? Your capacity to be offended, your capacity to be disgusted, these do not come in, right? These are non-factors, these are non-arguments, right? They have no ethical or logical weight at all. Okay? Number two, right? If you're offended by the comparison of human beings to non-human animals, right? That is a symptom of speciesism, right? That is a symptom that you consider these non-human animals, right? These sentient individuals to be less than yourself. Imagine for a moment that there is this incredibly racist person who is a member of your own race, okay? And they're racist to this one particular race of people, and he just mistreats members of that particular race anywhere he finds them, right? And that is obviously morally appalling, right? So you catch a hold of this person one day and you say, hey man, what you're doing is wrong. You need to stop, right? And to make your case, you say, the things you're doing to the members of this particular race, right? That's wrong. And consider what you say to this person, right? You say, imagine how you'd feel if someone treated the members of our race in the way in which you're treating members of that race, right? How would you feel about that? You ask that person, right? And he says, what? That's disgusting, that's offensive. How can you compare members of our race to members of that race? That's offensive, that's disgusting. How can you say such a thing? This is what that person says. And if you are responding to me as in Aditya Prakash, comparing the oppression of human beings to the oppression of non-human animals by saying, that's offensive, that's disgusting, how could you say such a thing? You are doing the morally analogous, right? Look, my point with this video, with this analogy, is not to reduce the moral value that we assign to human beings in general or any particular group of human beings. That's not it, right? My point, and I want to be very clear about this, is to raise the value, the moral value that we assign to non-human animals, because that is what they deserve, right? They deserve to be recognized for what they are as sentient individuals. Okay, so the final point that I'd like to make as a part of my case here is to say that you should have more respect for yourself, right? You are a decent person. You are perfectly capable of giving up a few minutes of sensory pleasure if that means to not contribute to the unnecessary suffering of an innocent individual. You're perfectly capable of giving up sensory pleasure to not contribute to oppression. You are capable of that, and don't let anyone tell you that you're not. Right? If someone does tell you that you're not capable of that, they are at best mistaken, right? And that includes you. If you think you're not capable of this, you are mistaken. You are capable of not contributing to this unnecessary industry, of not contributing to oppression. You can do this. You've got this. Okay? Okay, so before I end this video, I kind of want to leave a footnote, sort of, at the end of this. I recognize that there are truly people who truly cannot go vegan, right? People who are living near the south and north poles of the earth, right? They can't go vegan. That's true. So this video is not aimed at them, right? This video is not aimed at those people. This video is aimed at people who almost definitely have a kind of vegetable market near where they're living, right? They have access to vegetables, they have access to vegan food that is sufficient for them to live and thrive, right? If you're watching this video, you almost definitely have a vegetable market near you. If that's not available, there's almost definitely a supermarket near you. You have the resources, right? So you can stop contributing to the unnecessary suffering and the unnecessary oppression of non-human animals. So you should stop contributing to that, right? The fact that some people cannot, right? The fact that some people have to go through suffering themselves is not an excuse for you to contribute to unnecessary suffering, right? Do not use their suffering for your own greed. That is morally repugnant. You are better than that. So don't exploit their suffering for your own greed. You are a far, far better person than someone who would do such a morally deplorable thing, right? Okay. So I've been Aditya Prakash, or Soytheist. If you like the video, leave a like. If you love the video, subscribe to the channel. You can find me on social media here, right? And I'll see you in the next video. Good night.